The unlikely path to your promise. M. Julius. Content. 1. The perfect plan. 2. A trusted friend. 3. The first crack. 4. The sting of betrayal. 5. In the depths of pain. 6. A glimmer of light. 7. The unseen path. 8. A new horizon. 9. Understanding the purpose. 10. The journey ahead. Introduction. Dear reader, this is a story about a journey. It's a story about dreams, friendship, and the deep, unexpected pain of betrayal. We all have a picture of how our lives should go, a map we draw for ourselves with the help of God. But sometimes, someone comes along and tears that map to pieces. In those moments of confusion and hurt, it is easy to believe that all is lost. This book is a reminder that our God is the ultimate navigator. He can use every broken piece of our plans, every tear shed in pain, and every act of betrayal to redirect us onto a path more beautiful and purposeful than we could ever imagine. Even when we cannot see his hand, we can trust his heart. Let this story encourage you that your betrayers are not the end of your story. In God's hands, they can become an unexpected part of your new beginning. The perfect plan. Young David tended his father's sheep on the green hills of Bethlehem, his heart full of dreams and his lips full of songs for the Lord. He and his best friend, Jonathan, would often talk late into the night about their future, praying together and seeking God's will. David felt sure that God had placed him right where he was meant to be, surrounded by loyal friends and a clear purpose. He crafted a detailed plan in his mind, a life of simple faithfulness, growing his flock, and writing psalms under the vast, starry sky. He shared this dream with Jonathan, who clasped his shoulder and smiled. "Wherever God leads you, my friend, I will be there to support you," Jonathan promised. David's heart swelled with gratitude for such a faithful companion. He looked at his simple life and saw God's goodness in every sunrise and every bleeding lamb. It was a peaceful, predictable path, and David was content. Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. A trusted friend. As the seasons changed, a new figure entered David's life, a man named Marcus, a trader from a distant city. Marcus was charismatic and wise, with stories of vast markets and great opportunities. He saw potential in David's wool and craftsmanship that David himself had never imagined. "With your skill and my connections," Marcus would say, "we could build something incredible together." David was cautious at first, but Marcus quickly proved his worth. He helped David secure better prices, introduced him to important people, and even helped him expand his flock. Jonathan watched quietly, offering gentle warnings that David, in his excitement, brushed aside. Marcus became more than a business partner. He became a trusted advisor, someone David believed was a divine connection sent to accelerate his dreams. 1 Corinthians 15:33. Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. The first crack. One evening, Marcus came to David with a grand proposal. "I have buyers from Egypt," he explained, his eyes gleaming. "They will pay 10 times the normal price for our entire flock, but we must act quickly and secretly. We need to use all your family's savings to secure the deal before anyone else hears of it." A knot tightened in David's stomach. The secretive nature of the deal felt wrong, and the risk was enormous. He went to Jonathan, who pleaded with him. "David, this does not bear the fruit of the Spirit. It smells of greed and deception." But David, thinking of the security and legacy he could build, convinced himself that the end justified the means. He trusted Marcus. He handed over his family's entire savings, every last coin, his hands trembling with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Psalm 118:8. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in humans. The sting of betrayal. The day of the exchange arrived. David waited at the designated spot from sunrise to sunset, his heart growing heavier with each passing hour. Marcus never came. As the moon rose, a traveling merchant brought news. Marcus had been seen boarding a ship, bound for a far-off land, boasting of a fool he had easily swindled. David fell to his knees, the truth crashing down on him like a wave. He was ruined. The betrayal was a physical pain, a wound deeper than any sword could inflict. Not only was his wealth gone, but his trust was shattered. The dreams he had built with Marcus were revealed as a mirage. He felt like a fool, not just for the lost money, but for ignoring the counsel of a true friend and the quiet whisper of the Holy Spirit. He was left with nothing but dust and despair. Psalm 55:12-14. If an enemy were insulting me, I could endure it. But it is you, a man like myself, my companion, my close friend, with whom I once enjoyed sweet fellowship. In the depths of pain, the weeks that followed were the darkest of David's life. Shame kept him from the marketplace, and the sight of his diminished flock was a constant reminder of his failure. He could no longer write songs, his harp lay silent. He avoided Jonathan, too embarrassed to face him. He cried out to God in his anguish, "Why, Lord? Why did you allow this? I thought he was a blessing from you." He replayed every conversation, every decision, torturing himself with what-ifs. The betrayal felt like a dead end, a permanent stain on his life and his future. It seemed as though the door to his dreams had been slammed shut and bolted by the very person he had believed would help him open it wider. He felt abandoned by man, and in his darkest moments, forgotten by God. Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. A glimmer of light. One morning, as David listlessly tended the few sheep he had left, Jonathan found him. He didn't say, "I told you so." Instead, he simply sat beside his friend in silence for a long time. Then he placed a hand on David's shoulder and said, "The Lord's mercies are new every morning. Your story is not over." Jonathan's unwavering friendship was the first flicker of light in David's profound darkness. Encouraged by Jonathan, David finally poured out his heart to God, not in anger but in humble surrender. He confessed his pride and his greed. In the quiet that followed his prayer, a new thought, gentle as a breeze, entered his spirit. "I am closing this door because I have a different path for you, a better one." The pain did not vanish, but for the first time, a sliver of hope pierced through it. Lamentations 3:22-23. Because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The unseen path. With nothing left to lose in Bethlehem, David felt a strange and newfound freedom. He decided to travel to a small, nearby village where shepherds were known for a unique method of weaving. It was a humble trade, one he had never considered in his grand plans with Marcus. He had nothing to offer but his willingness to work and the hard lessons he had learned. In this new place, he met an old, blind weaver named Eli. David shared his story of betrayal and loss with the old man. Eli listened and then said, "Sometimes God uses a sharp thorn to pop a balloon that was taking us in the wrong direction. The pop is painful, but the redirection is a mercy." David began to see his situation through new eyes. Isaiah 43:19. "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." A new horizon. David poured his heart into learning Eli's craft. He combined his own knowledge of wool with the new weaving techniques, creating a fabric of exceptional beauty and durability. Unlike his previous ventures, his motive was no longer wealth, but excellence and worship, creating something that reflected the beauty of his creator. He worked with integrity and a quiet spirit. A royal envoy, passing through the village, saw David's work and was astonished. He commissioned David to create tapestries for the king's palace, an honor far greater than any fleeting profit from Marcus's schemes. More than that, David found deep satisfaction in his craft and a platform to share his faith. The path God had opened was far more aligned with his true calling than the one he had so desperately clung to. Jeremiah 29:11. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Understanding the purpose. Years later, David was a master weaver, known throughout the region. His goods were sought after, and he used his influence to help other young artisans avoid the traps of greed and quick success. One day, he heard a rumor that Marcus had lost everything in a shipwreck and was living in destitution. A surprising feeling washed over David, not bitterness, but pity. He realized with stunning clarity that Marcus's betrayal, as painful as it was, had been the very event that saved him. If he had succeeded in that dishonest deal, he might have become a rich but corrupt traitor, always chasing the next scheme, his heart far from God. The betrayal had broken him out of a future that was too small and self-centered, and forced him onto God's larger, more purposeful path. Genesis 50:20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. The journey ahead. David now understood that the betrayers in our lives are often the unlikely instruments God uses to redirect us. They tear down the fragile houses we build so that God can lay a foundation of rock. They are not in control of our destiny. Our Heavenly Father is. The pain they cause is real, but it is not the end of the story. He looked back at his journey, from the hills of Bethlehem, through the valley of betrayal, to the fulfillment he now knew, and he saw God's faithful hand at every turn. He picked up his harp, silent for so long, and began to write a new song. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Dear friend, if you are in the midst of the pain of betrayal, hold on. The wound is deep, and the confusion is real, but you are not alone. The God who redeems all things is with you in this very moment. He sees your tears and hears the cries of your heart. Your betrayer has not written your final chapter. They have merely turned a page. The next page is blank, waiting for God's hand to write a story of redemption, strength, and purpose that you cannot yet imagine. Trust that the one who allowed Joseph to be betrayed by his brothers and Jesus to be betrayed by Judas is working a miracle in your story too. Your greatest victories are often born from your most painful wounds. Keep walking. Your promised land is ahead.